So I'll answer any questions, anything at all.
Can you tell us how the chemistry of this team is coming along, what you did during the summer, what you see now that practice has started, everybody's here and they're in class, and kind of what's the feel of the team?
You know, the first thing is the feel off the court and how we get along, and this team gets along in a great way. You know, we have different ages on the team, different backgrounds. You know, we have 4 graduate transfers. You know, we have 7 freshmen. They get along. You wouldn't know who's who, and I think that's the cool part for this group is that chemistry is there. They like they like one another. We've done some great things off the court. We have our Brotherhood CEO program where, you know, we've put them in positions where they've had to talk to one another and, you know, getting to know about each other in a different way. So I think that's set us up well for now as we get on the floor and start developing roles and who can do what and how to play together. That base of a friendship, but also the trust is there. And on the court, to be honest with you, we haven't really had our full group out there. You know, with Derek and you know, Derek's been out the last couple of weeks. He's back and fine. But we've just had some, you know, bumps and bruises, and we've been cautious. So for us, yesterday was, you know, the first time in a couple of weeks we had our whole group out there to get a feel for what it looks like. So that was exciting for me as the coach to get a chance to really see what this team could possibly be.
Jon, with that kind of roster turnover, it seems like Jeremy's important, both as a player and as a leader, to kind of get this group to cohere is enormously important. You talk about where his game is right now and where his leadership skills are right now.
Yeah, Jeremy's in a great spot right now. You know, Jeremy, he's in a new position, not only with his role on the team and his experience from coming off the last year, but also with, like, we have a great relationship, but he's figuring out what I'm like as a head coach and the things that I'm looking for him to do. So it's been, hopefully that means it can be exciting because it's not like you're just doing the same thing. It's a different role, and he's done a great job. I think Jeremy's not a guy that necessarily is going to be the loudest on the floor all the time, but he has great experience and he's been a winner his whole life, so he knows what it takes to win. So I'll just encourage him to follow his instincts, continue to talk, continue to lead, not just by example, but continuing to be comfortable using his voice in whatever way that means. So he's done a great job. He's in a great spot to really have a heck of a year, and he's gonna be our guard, and I'll put him up against any guard in the country.
Jon, you mentioned you haven't had necessarily everybody unfold at the same time yet, but sort of stylistically, when you see all the pieces that you have, like what are some things that you definitely want to make sure that you incorporate this season, things that you're looking forward to maybe doing a little bit differently from the past couple of years, but just sort of stylistically, generally, when you do have those pieces, how would you like your team to look?
Well, it starts with our defense. You know, we have great athleticism, great length, and to be an elite defensive team that's a goal for us. And we know it's not going to happen overnight, but that's something that's really important. You know, of course, we want to create turnovers and put pressure on the defense, but it really starts with protecting our paint, using our length, and that's something we're really focusing on right now. Now, we've got a long way to go. Trust me, we've got a long way to go to get there. And then, you know, we have a team that can put on the court 3, 4, 5 guys. They all know how to play. They're smart. They can pass, handle, and shoot. And so, you know, really sharing the ball. You know, just being a team that shares the ball, plays together. It may not be where we have the same leading scorer every game. It may be where somebody different each game. But really, if we're that on the defensive end and then we play the right way and together on offense, that to me is what Duke basketball is all about.
You mentioned Derek being maybe ahead of the timeline for his return. What is the timeline for his return? Do you have a picture that you can share with us?
Yeah, you know, we haven't set a timeline because we want him to just, there's a few steps he has to take still in order to get there, but it's going to be sometime this fall. And, you know, when I say ahead of his timeline, I'm not saying that to put pressure on him. It means he's doing great, and I think we'll really see these next couple of weeks as he starts to get on the floor and start to, you know, put pressure on his foot a little bit more and see what it looks like. But he's in a great spot, and, you know, definitely expect him to be back sooner rather than later.
John, last year, I know the team got to do some off-court activities. There was like the escape room and stuff like that. Are there things that this team has gotten to do off the court for bonding purposes?
Yeah, we've done a good amount, and a lot of it the guys have done on their own, and then some we've done as a team collectively. One recently that had a great experience on our entire team, but we did the Wim Hof breathing technique, which I don't know if you guys have heard of that. And I see a couple of people shaking their heads. Mostly everybody's looking at me like I'm crazy right now. But it's an actual thing, okay? And Mike Posner, it's an actual thing. If you guys are Googling, looking it up, it's an actual thing. And Mike Posner, who I went to college with, Mike and I have stayed in close touch through the years, and he got certified for Wim Hof breathing. And so look it up if you don't know what it is. But we did it with our entire team. We got around all in the court in Cameron, and it's a crazy experience. You know, it's you. If I tell you how you feel, you guys are going to look at me even more crazy. But it's really purposeful, and it's when you do it with other people, you feel a strong sense of belonging, but also a bond. And that was a special thing that we did. And then through the Brotherhood CO program, we've had a bunch of former managers and different people come speak to our team that has been really helpful just to gain some perspective.
Coach, you brought in a lot of young guys. You've done an amazing job with recruiting. When you have such, a stacked young class coming in, why is it important to have veteran leadership and have, 4 graduate transfers, guys like Jeremy?
Yeah, well, with Jeremy, it's great to have him because he's a great player, and two, the experience, like I've learned personally through my playing career, you get a better sense of what it takes when you go through it yourself and somebody else isn't telling you that this is what it's going to be like. And so for our guys, having that perspective, having a Jacob Grandison, who's been a part of championship teams at Illinois, Ryan Young, who's really battled for 4 years in the Big Ten, they bring great perspective. Just as Max Johns and Cale Ketchings in the Ivy League, they also do the same thing. So I think the balance is key. It's not about we need one of this or one of that. It's just the balance, and they've all gotten along well, and each of them in their own ways, they all feel they have a lot to learn, which we all do collectively. Like for us as a team, we're going through this for the first time and only time together. And so that's been our approach, to learn together, grow together, and good things will happen.
John, with grad transfers, how much do you want to implement that as a general rule, or experience transfers? In general, going forward, I mean.
Yeah, we don't plan on that being the main way for us to continue to put our roster together, but it's been really good for us. I mean, you guys know Theo John, the importance that he had, Bates Jones, last year's team. We feel Ryan Young and Jacob Grandison will have that same impact on the court for us, and who knows what that looks like even more. But it all depends on what our team looks like, who comes back. There's guys every year that have decisions to make, and we'll help them through those decisions. But the graduate, the transfer, whether it's graduate or not, that's never going to be the main thing that we do. Although we'd be foolish not to bring in a good player. Ryan Young is available. Jacob Grandison, absolutely. Those guys have been great for us.
You're talking about Grandison a lot. I had the pleasure of covering him at Illinois for the last 2 years,
Yeah.
and something I always watched was his clutch factor, especially from beyond the perimeter. Is that something you kind of want to bring in here, and you noticed right away from him?
Yeah, he's obviously his ability to stretch the floor is key, but I think his best quality is he's a winner. Like, he knows how to play the game, and he knows how to make others better. He plays at a great pace. He's not about himself. He's not about his statistics. He's about one thing, and that's, did we win or did we not? And so when you have a guy like that and somebody that can also, but somebody else that can defend really multiple positions, and then on the offensive end, he can space, he can drive, and he's a really good passer. I can't say enough about the impact that he's made so far for us. He's been terrific.
Hey, Coach, I believe two days ago, Coach Carol Lawson, Duke Women's Basketball, they released a video of her just going over embracing the struggle, not taking the easy way out, going through the hardships. For this year's ball club, what's been your teaching moment for them going forward?
Yeah, well, I think we're about to head into, we're going to have a lot of teaching moments going forward, and I think the biggest thing is for any of our guys, when you get to college and you get to our environment, that you have to change. It can't be where you think you can, do what made you successful in high school. You have to figure out what makes you successful at college, and then obviously if they're fortunate to go to the next level, they have to do the same thing at the NBA. But the thing that I've learned is always just to look yourself in the mirror. And we had our first practice yesterday. I promise you, I went home last night and went through it. Here's what we can do better. Here's what I can do better. And if each of us are doing that, and our players are doing that, we'll grow so much. But I think that's the biggest thing. It's just to have always an honest assessment and a reality check for where we are right now, where we're going to get. And again, you're mentioning what Kara said. Kara was talking about it's not linear. Success doesn't happen just where you get better every single day. You have setbacks, you get knocked back, and this year I hope it's smooth sailing and all good. Odds are it's not going to be that way. And so how do you handle that adversity? We've tried to put our team in positions this fall, even in our practices, where we show how we respond to adversity. So that's been something that's important for us.
You mentioned at the top that you had the first day of practice written down in your calendar for a long time. Do you still pinch yourself and say, man, I'm the head coach at Duke, or have you gotten over that? Is that something that happened during the summer or when you first got named?
I'm used to it now, but it's we've had many workouts already, but I don't know, first official practice, that's a big deal to me. Like that was something walking on the floor and being there with the team, that was a big deal. And so I don't know if I pinched myself or I believed it. I believed it for sure and felt like it was a great day, but I also know that I just focus on the next day, and I know there's a lot of other firsts and hopefully a lot of great ones to come, but for me, I just try to focus on this moment here and now, and yesterday was the first practice, and today is number 2, and it's the same approach for that.
Jon, how often are you seeing Coach K? What kind of conversations are you having? And are they basketball conversations or more puppy conversations?
We actually haven't had puppy conversations recently, but I know we have everything. We talk about everything, and I see him. He travels a ton, so I haven't seen him. She saw him yesterday, so I did see him. But we have a great relationship, and we haven't gotten into the depth of our team because, frankly, I haven't got into that yet with what we look like and practice and all that. But we have a truly special relationship that's about. We talk as much about how he's doing, how I'm doing, and that's the fun part. It's not about Duke basketball all the time. It's just about life, and I'm sure there'll be plenty of times we do get into that though.
Jon, you guys got Tyrese about a month ago, I think.
Yeah.
Now, just in terms of initial impressions of him, what you think he brings to the team, and maybe anything surprising that you guys are seeing up close in person that's even more impressive than you thought it might be.
Yeah, well, Tyrese is a really good player. His international experience has really served him well with knowing how to play through contact, knowing how to play with really good pace, and he's somebody that can score it, he can pass it, he can defend, and for us, he's really easy to play with. And so Tyrese has been, a great attitude, easy to coach, off the court, done everything we've asked. It's been great having him. And for someone that missed the summer to get adjusted as quickly as he has is pretty remarkable. And obviously we have big expectations as we move forward, but his ability to make others better while also scoring and doing what he does is a big asset for us that we have to continue to develop and help him come along just to get a feel for the college game. It's just different. And so I think that's the next transition for him, just to understand how the college game is played.
Jon, with Lively, how do you think he handled the summer and getting prepped for preseason?
Derek has done great. Derek has an amazing attitude. He has an infectious personality. He's one of those guys, when you're in the gym with him, he brings the level of the energy up every single day. He's always talking. He's always same motor. You never have to coach effort with Derek. And of course, he has an incredible amount of potential, with his ability and his athleticism, and then I mentioned his motor. But he's been great. And, Derek, the past couple of weeks, we've been playing it safe with him. He got dinged up and got hit in the calf, but, really, he's getting his flow back offensively. and he's going to be a guy that can impact games maybe without even scoring that much. Now, he may have some big scoring games too, but he impacts the game way more than just scoring. And it's been fun to coach him every single day. He's a guy I love to coach because he's coachable. You can get on him hard. You can tell him the truth right away, and he responds to it and then does it. So he's been great.
People are going to compare freshman Derek Lively to sophomore Mark Wichers. Is that fair to Derek? I mean, is that a realistic expectation that he can have that kind of impact?
There's two different players. They similarities. Hopefully, Derek protects the rim like Mark did, as a sophomore. But they're two different players, even though they're both, they have great size and they're athletic. But I think Derek, for him, he just needs to be him, whatever that means. And if you end up saying he's like a sophomore Mark, that's really good. that'd be great. But different players probably play a little bit of a different style, and just want him to focus on getting better every single day.
Coach, with the NBA considering allowing players to come straight to the NBA out of high school, what kind of challenges do you think that will present for you guys as you're looking to recruit players who are freshmen in high school right now?
I think the biggest thing I've learned since I've taken, since I've become the head coach in the spring is understanding what real and what isn't and not overreacting to things. And like that rule could change tomorrow, and that rule could change 2 years from now, or could never change. There are other things along the way, whether you talk about NIL, whether you talk about the transfer rule. But we try to just focus on obviously being prepared for either one. Like we feel Duke basketball and the way we've recruited and the way we will continue to, we'll be in a good position, but not try to jump the gun where anticipating something, because next thing you know, something else changes, and just try to stay the course of what we know is real and what we know for sure is happening. And I know obviously reports get put out there and we're aware of all of them, and we do our homework and we make sure we're informed as much as we possibly can be. But I also think it's important not to overreact and jump the gun about how we're recruiting or how we're handling something based on something that may happen at this time or may not happen.
Has the recruiting pitch changed at all now that you've taken over as head coach?
I think it definitely has changed. I think it has to change. I mean, one, I'm not Coach K, so I can't say the experiences that he's had, and that's why you should come here. I think there's a different perspective that I have to offer, but what's similar is the fact that it's Duke University and it's Duke basketball. I mean, that's a huge selling point right there. And our strategy, I would say, has changed just because the landscape has changed. And so, like in our class, Derek and these guys and Tyrese and Kyle and all them, we really identified them and went after them with no backups. And we felt like they belonged here. Unfortunately, they felt the same way, and they're here. And we'll still do that with the guys that we really know early on. But there's way more influx of guys that can go the professional route. There's reclassification that happens way more. And so understanding we have to have a wider scope, at least in the beginning, I think is key. But the message is always going to be authentic to what Duke is about, what I'm about as a person, as a coach, and what our staff is about. And that part won't change.
With Tyrese, with so much of his recruitment being watching videos from overseas, the pandemic, all that kind of stuff, what have you learned about him since he's been on campus and you've been able to watch him play in person a lot? What do you know about now that you maybe didn't know before that?
He's stronger in person than he looks on film. And, Tyrese is, one, he's worked on his body a lot. But then two, he really knows how to use his body. And that's a skill that's hard to pick up on. And he's tough. You can't tell in person, you can't tell on film, how does a person, talk, or how do they, use their body all the time. And he still can talk more, by the way. That for me is something he can definitely do. But just his feel and his attention to detail on any play, it could be offensively or defensively. He has a high understanding of how to play the game, and I knew that, but it showed up even at a different level in person.
You've talked a lot about chemistry on the team. with new hires on the coaching staff, how's chemistry looking there?
Yeah, it's been great. Yeah, the staff has been great, and for all of us, we have to. I mentioned, yesterday for us, we have a lot of newness with our players. So a drill that you could just call out in the past, and then we just do it. That's not happening. We have to re-explain anything we want to do. It's the same thing for our staff, where we're spending more time in our coaches' meetings, just talking about each drill, and is this the way we want it set up, and what's the intention, what's the purpose. And so it's kind of exciting at the same time, because you can make it whatever you want to make it. Now it's a challenge because you better make it good, and it's important. But it's been collaborative. It's been where we're pushing each other. They're pushing me, and I'll say something, and I want them to tell me if they see it differently or if there's a different way to do it. So the staff chemistry has been great. Emil is new and has amazing energy. Jay he's a great teacher. Chris is a great teacher as well, and there's just great compliments to one another, and each of them in their own ways make me better every single day.
You talked about your first practice. You had a year to kind of prepare yourself for this transition. How did that time kind of prepare you for this moment now?
It's funny. For me, it's really helped anticipate what's to come. But then, like, let's say for the first practice, you're not able to prepare for that a year in advance, right? And so things come at you quick. And so being able to, the year helped me really understand at a deeper level who I am, because, I've had a lot of close friends who have been head coaches before and have gone through it for the first time, and you have to really be clear about what you expect, who you are, and then stay true to that even when you're not doing as well. And that happens to all of us. And so for me, really throughout the entire year, not only was I coaching at the highest level that I could in the role, assisting Coach K, but I also realized, like, here are my non-negotiables, and as a coach, here's the things that we're going to work on. So as we start the season, like, I already knew the first 2 weeks we were doing defense. I already knew that. And so, the first 2 weeks of individual work, we did defense. And now hopefully that shows up, and that there's work to be done still. But I think that's the biggest thing that you're allowed me to do, is stay true to who I am, understand what I'm looking for, and then to follow that up with action.
Coach, what do you feel has been your biggest difference so far being the head coach in terms of your time schedule? I guess, sorry, that's it.
No, I feel a little bit more popular, since last year. A little bit more. Mostly that's good. Some of it's I'm okay not being as popular, and but you have to be really just selfish, I think is a good way to put it, for your time, and then the time still I want to spend with my kids, my family, and hopefully they say I'm still as fun as I was before. But it's obviously more time planning practices and all the things that come with it. But it's a blessing. I think I've handled it really well, but obviously there's it's only going to get busier from here. So I'll take it for whatever that means.
You mentioned pretty much wanting to find yourself and recognize who you are. You kind of adopted some kind of message or mantra that you have to remind yourself of every day, or maybe something for the team?
There's something for the team. I'd rather keep that private, right now. But the biggest thing that I've emphasized for our staff and for our players is just to be in this together. There's can be a lot of noise. There can be, a lot of distractions, and when we win a game, it can be the biggest deal. When we lose, it can be even a bigger deal. It's just stay in it together, believe in each other, and good things will happen. I've been fortunate in my time here. I've seen that happen a couple of times. We've won the whole thing. We've had a group that can do that. We've had a few other times where we've been right there and close, but that's been my biggest message, is to stay true to each other, and good things will happen.
We have time for two more.
You referenced last year quite a bit. You knew you were going to be the head coach for a while. Last year, particularly towards the end of the season, was kind of a roller coaster. What kind of lessons do you take away from last year, and how do you implement that in your program going forward?
I think last year is a perfect example of, staying the course and staying together. You had couple of tough moments. I mean, end of the year. I mean, we lose the ACC championship game to Virginia Tech. We lose here at home. We make a run, and you're a play away from going to the national championship game. You're right there. You want to be in that position, and so we're losing to Michigan State. A few minutes to go in the second round. Texas Tech comes out and kicks us in the teeth in the first few minutes, and so just staying tough, staying together, and you never know what can happen. And so I think you look back at the years that we've won it, the years that we've been close to winning it, and there's been not just one moment in all of them, but there's been multiple moments where people have written us off or doesn't look very good, and that's part of. You can't get tougher without going through some adversity, going through some experiences. So to me, I look back at last year as a prime example of that.
Last one.
John, bringing your assistants to press conferences like this is unusual. Is that part of your idea to bring your staff together more, or is that somebody else is?
I don't know if I can take full credit for that, but I will say, the thing that I have learned from Coach K that I want to continue is, he's always encouraged us to think like head coaches. Think like a head coach and operate as a head coach and pursue that. And so the more opportunities for the guys on our staff or anybody on our staff to pursue their individual aspirations, I'm all for it. Like, this has been a launching pad for a long time for many people, including myself, and I want to make sure we can continue to have that happen for those people, for our people.
All right, Coach, thank you. Appreciate it.